Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the 107 podcast with myself, Jacob, and my co-host, Jesus Christ.
Co-host. I thought we were going to have a normal intro.
It's supposed to be a normal intro. Oh, God.
There's no such thing.
All right, do you want to
Co-host.
introduce yourself, co-host?
Yeah, let me just go get my jacket.
Yeah.
No, Ash, and we're back again to talk about a race.
We are. We've been racing.
And a very good race.
Arguably one of the best of the season. Not that it's that difficult, right?
No, so far.
Yeah.
I mean, with Max just dominating. There hasn't been any decent standout races, but when it rains,
It pours.
it pours. Yes, we had the Dutch Grand Prix over the weekend, finally back from the summer break. And
You've got blind.
have I gone blind?
New glasses. I'm appreciating the style.
It's to like stop the blue light or something like that.
Blue light. No, it's a myth. It's a myth.
Is it a myth?
It's a myth. It's a myth.
Okay.
All light
Well-
technically is rainbow coloured. So it's a myth. I promise you, it's a myth. It's a myth.
All right, I'll take them off. There you go.
I
Now I've just
I wasn't
lost
dissing
my.
do what you want.
I've lost a few intelligence points there.
Maybe it's me
down
taking
to
those
3.
intelligence points away. Maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I understood it, it was a myth. But anyway, yes, we've been racing. We were in Zandvoort. Social media teams threw Stroop waffles at everyone, and everyone had a nice
They rolled
time.
them down the banking.
Yeah, honestly, like every year, Stroop waffles. It's like, yeah, all right, we get it. I think the only
They are
people,
nice.
there were, I guess, 2 people who had really bad weekends. First one was Daniel Ricciardo, who
Very, very bad weekend.
yeah.
Poor guy.
So obviously that now means that AlphaTauri have had 4 drivers this season and only 3 points, which is very interesting. I can't remember the last time that happened this far into a season where you've had 4 different drivers for a single team and only like 1, 2, 3 points or anything like that. So it's definitely an interesting statistic.
There's a limit on drivers as well, isn't there?
Is there?
Yes, you can only have a certain amount of drivers per team.
Huh. Did not know that. So
I'm sure for special circumstances they will let more people drive, but yeah, there is a limit. I think it's 5.
I have a question for you then.
Okay.
So Liam Lawson, obviously he took over from Daniel, who broke his wrist, I guess. But so I know that all Formula One teams have to have a rookie take part in an FP session. Because Liam Lawson took part in FP3 and also obviously in the race, I presume that AlphaTauri no longer have to do that. Is that correct? I presume.
I guess so.
So there we go. That's that wrapped up. I presume anyway. Or I don't know if it. Yeah, no, it definitely. I don't know if it counts actually because technically they already had a rookie in Nick De Vries on a technicality. So I don't know whether or not they technically needed to.
I don't think it helps anyone.
Anyway, they won't need to the rest of the season. But Liam Lawson seemed to have a decent race, decent enough weekend. He broke a record from May 2022 as well, which is wild. He was the first person to overtake Max Verstappen since the 2022 Grand Prix on track, not including race starts.
Wow.
In his first race.
Well done. Well done, Liam.
I've said this a couple of times. Liam Lawson's pretty bloody good. So yeah, we'll have to see how he kicks on obviously this weekend in Monza, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. But let's go back to Zandvoort. Let's go back to Stroop waffles down the banking of the final corner.
I think let's go back to Daniel. Because what I find amazing is that I'm surprised more drivers don't break their hands or wrists or arms with that jerk of the steering wheel.
Yeah, but that's why Nico Rosberg, whenever he lost control of the car and he knew he'd lost control of it, that's why he held his hands to his chest, because he didn't, although obviously there's like, it's power steering and it's very unlikely to, hurt your wrists or anything like that. But he used to do that. You can see it when he crashed with Lewis Hamilton in Barcelona. You can see he literally just lifts his hands straight off the steering wheel because he doesn't want the steering to snap and then snap his wrists, or his thumbs, I guess, because the thumbs are inside the steering wheel.
Yeah, so I found it interesting that that's probably the first time I've ever heard of a driver seriously injuring their hand like that.
It's the first time in a while, yeah.
Just shame. It's just such a shame. Danny comes back, has a summer break. Looks like his performances could just start going back up again, and this is a bit of a blow. But I think he'll be back in a few races' time, and
I think they said recovery time for an injury like that is like 5 to 6 weeks. So I imagine for a Formula One driver, it would probably be 4 weeks.
There's also still a load of races left.
Yeah,
loads. So he'll still get a good few decent run-ins if he comes back. Let's just say he misses Japan. Up to Japan, he's still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 races.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like quarter of a season.
Yeah, he still gets a race in Vegas, so I don't think he'll care that much.
Vegas is the second to last race.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Also, in that same thing that Nico talked about, he mentioned that Lewis does the opposite, which is why sometimes he can keep a car going.
Yeah.
And not as damaged because he holds on to the steering wheel.
Yep.
So interesting. But we wish Danny well. Hopefully he'll be back soon. And let's talk about business as usual, I guess, from the top.
Yes and no. I think it could have gone either way, like at the beginning of the race.
I didn't see anyone really take Max in that car, especially in the wet. I didn't.
No, I guess the surprise for me was that nobody binned it during those opening laps when it was really, really bad rain and bad weather. I was really surprised that nobody went off. No one.
Yeah.
So hats off to all 20 of the drivers because they did very well the first 20 laps. But that opening sort of 10, 15 minutes was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I loved it. Chaos.
It obviously, I found it quite entertaining hearing George cry on the radio as much as he did, like as if almost he was like deserved a podium or something like that. And I'm like, mate, just bring it down a level, okay? It's just, come on.
Mean.
Well, I'm not entirely wrong, right? I think that George Russell, yes, like initially you were in a good position, but at the same time, just stop whining, my guy. Just carry on, because we all know that anything can happen within a Formula One race. You saw Sergio Perez come from all the way at the back in a completely dry race to end up winning the race in 2020. Yeah, 2020. Yeah, couldn't remember. Anyway, but we've seen it before, so shut up and drive as far as I'm concerned. You've literally paid millions of pounds. Just crack on. So that was quite entertaining for me. It did annoy me that McLaren slipped so far down, and I think after the race had sort of settled, race results, it had come out that essentially the team were telling both Oscar and Lando that they expected the rain to only last for a couple of minutes longer. You'll be okay, you'll survive. And then the rain obviously just got much worse. So it was a strategic call that, sort of screwed the McLaren boys. And it was the strategy as well that screwed the Mercedes boys as well. So, but it did make for a very interesting race, the rest of it.
True. Should we start with Red Bull?
Yes, start with Red Bull. Those first couple of laps, once Max and Checo switched tyres, Max took out 4 seconds on Checo within a lap.
I mean,
how does that man keep on doing it?
Like I said, it was wet weather, and Max is a master in wet weather conditions.
True,
He's at one with the car. I mean,
but it's just ridiculous. 4 seconds is just insane.
I think it's more a reflection of Sergio rather than Max.
Yeah, I think you're right. But at the same time, it's just outrageous that you can gain that much within a lap.
Yeah. So, what do you make of the call to pit Sergio before Max, and then Max getting the undercut? Sorry, pit Sergio after Max getting the undercut, and just coming out ahead of him. I know he was taking seconds out of him.
I think it was also track position, right? I don't think it was necessarily a case of, we're going to pit him first over him. I think it was literally Max was closest on track and the next person to pit. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Because
they didn't speak to Sergio about pitting. Max was called in by the team, so Max didn't make the decision to pit. So it does make you wonder, is that really an excuse that track? He was closer on the track, or are they like favoring Max? Which is, we all know what they do. And if you're taking seconds out of your teammate, then maybe, right, let's get him on the optimal strategy because he's driving the car better than Sergio is.
Yeah. I think it's partly like a bit of 50-50, to be honest with you. I think it's probably not only are they, talking to Max and communicating a bit more, but at the same time, Perez could very easily communicate and say, I want to come in and I want to pit for inters or wets, depending on whether or not you want to lose the race. But I want to come in and pit for inters is a perfectly reasonable thing to say. I know that obviously he's probably, maybe asking the team for more info and stuff like that, but at the same time, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm really not entirely sure, but I don't think this doesn't stink of preferential treatment. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I think it does.
I think it's just
that both drivers are out on track. Okay, I know Max has taken seconds out of him, and then the team decide, not Sergio and Max, the team decide we're going to bring Max in first.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure it was down to Max is the next driver to come up on the radar. I'm pretty sure it was track position. I might be wrong. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was that. Plus, let's be honest, even if it wasn't a case of, it's just track position, as you said, Max is a master in the wet. So if you're going to pit anyone onto that tyre compound first, it's going to be Max.
That's true. I think it does. Like, look, if they're going to give preferential treatment, that's fine. But, it just... I don't know how to... If I'm Sergio, I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, literally, what is going on?
Yeah.
Because, Max could have easily done another lap on those tyres. I don't think it was track position. I just think, it's preferential treatment. He's the guy that we're going to maximize the win for. And that's it. He would have got the win regardless of how that pit stop went anyway.
Yeah.
But, even Sergio went on the radio saying, did Max undercut us? And they're like, yeah, he did. But he wasn't called in. But what I wanted to talk about was equaling Sebastian Vettel's record of 9 straight wins.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Such a great achievement for sure. And it's absolutely phenomenal. I think that the only real difference is that I feel like the Seb wins were a lot more driver-based, like driver earned compared to Max's in terms of the competition just isn't there. Max is just leagues and leagues ahead. And you've also got Perez in a similar car also performing and winning races at the same time as well. Whereas with Seb, that wasn't the case. It was just him dominating. It wasn't necessarily the car. I'm 99% sure that during that season where Seb won 9 in a row, I'm 99% sure that... Who was his teammate? It would have been Webber at the time, wouldn't it?
It was Webber, yeah.
I think he only won 1 race, and there were only... how many races were even in
Mark Webber
that season?
didn't win a single race.
There we go. So I thought he only won 1, but that's exactly what I'm talking about in terms of like Seb was just like a level above everyone else in a car that wasn't a level above everyone else. Whereas Max is a level above everyone else, don't get me wrong, but he's in a car which is a level above everyone else. So, and again, I don't want to take away from the achievements or anything like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. 9 wins in a row is insane in a sport where over qualifying, cars are within, a second of each other from 1st to 20th, like within Q1 sometimes. It's absolutely insane. So it's definitely an achievement which is up there with like other incredible sporting achievements, like Usain Bolt's world record 100-meter dash, that sort of thing. It's on that level as far as I'm concerned, especially if he gets that 10th win this weekend in Monza.
Yeah, which is looking likely. I think this record is harder to get than Seb's record. I think the opposite.
No, I think Seb's is harder because there's also less races in a season.
I don't think that makes too much of a difference. I think if you look at that season, Mark Webber didn't win a single race, yet Sergio has won races.
Yep.
Also, this is the second year they've had these kind of cars.
True.
Whereas Seb's was right at the final year, just before big regulation changes.
Yeah.
And that was the year where they changed tyre compounds after Great Britain. And after Great Britain, Seb just dominated.
Yeah.
While in this one, the same thing. They've changed the tyre compounds.
And Max has continued to dominate.
Continued to dominate as well. Whereas pre the tyre compounds, you had Fernando winning races, you had Nico winning races, you had Kimi winning races. I see.
So you're just salty that Fernando didn't win. Got it.
I'll always be salty that Fernando didn't win. So I think Max is more difficult than Seb's, I believe, in my opinion.
I'm very biased because it's Seb, but at the same time, I just feel like the achievement of Seb is just that bit better, personally.
Yeah, each their own. I think Max's is better.
I don't want to take anything away from Max, especially because he's probably going to go ahead and win 10, which is ridiculous. And also, had Mercedes not won in Brazil last year, this winning streak would be even longer. Red Bull have won this season. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't think we will see, and I said this before on the podcast, I don't think we'll see domination like this again for years. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
I could definitely see it happening next year.
No, but for Red Bull again, I can't see it happening with a different constructor next year. Not to this level.
Okay. To this level.
Like if you said to me next year, McLaren or Mercedes, maybe Ferrari, but also maybe Aston Martin.
Next year there'll be no one that could beat that record but Red Bull.
No, that's what I'm saying. In terms of there won't be another. No. I'm just saying this. We are in the middle, as far as I'm concerned. We're in the middle of this Red Bull domination, and it's just going to carry on. I think they've got it locked in until at least 2025, where they will start focusing heavily on 2026 regs. And I think then it's more of an open playing field. But even then, I don't know how well that's going to go for any of the teams, to be completely honest. I think Audi will come out of the gate and do something interesting, but at the same time, like everyone else, I think it's a pretty even playing field.
I think next year they've got it locked down. I think 2025 we might see something different.
Maybe. Who knows?
I think so. I think they've had some more time to understand the car. It's a last year before regulation changes, so some people may go all in, some people may not go all in. Seems like 2021 when Honda, the engine, made it all the way back up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see him next year just dominating from the outset.
Yeah,
I think next
probably.
year's a write-off. But 2025, I still think there could be some changes there.
Yeah, potentially. But I just, like I said, I think we're in the middle of this Red Bull domination. We're a season and a half in, aren't we? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So another season and a half. We're probably halfway through now. So I think that the domination will essentially carry on unless something ridiculous happens, like the Monza curse. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll discuss the Monza curse at some other point. But it's going to be interesting for sure to see just how many wins in a row he actually gets, and also just interesting to see how many wins in a row Red Bull get. Like just for them as a constructor, not necessarily Max on its own, because I mean, Sergio is still very clearly capable of winning races.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get. I still think another team and driver will win.
There's always one upset during a season. There's always
too many variables, weather and car performance, and just someone just sending it into turn one. So I still think they will. But yeah, you're right. We're in the middle of a historic season, so just take it in, enjoy it, and appreciate it.
Yeah.
Quick word on Sergio. He didn't have the best qualifying. He didn't have the best race. It looked like when he made the switch to Inters, it's like, okay, could be going his way. And Max was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's not going your way.
Max was like, no, this is not happening.
Unfair advantage in terms of it's his home circuit. Sergio's going in there knowing that it's Max's home circuit.
There's an unfair advantage, and there's taking seconds.
4 seconds out of a lap.
Out of your teammate in the same car on those tyres. That's not home advantage. That is just
annihilation.
I don't even know what that is.
Again, it just leans into even more. It leans into Max is just in a league of his own. Perez is good, but he's not world champion level like Max is. That's essentially the difference.
Look, he made the mistakes in the pit lane, which gave him the time penalty, which got Gasly up into the podium positions.
Yeah.
What was the other one? He just locked up when it aquaplaned, and he locked up and hit the wall. Alonso went past into second.
Yeah.
You're not seeing Max make those mistakes.
No.
You're just not.
No. And you're not seeing Alonso make those mistakes as well.
Yeah, or Hamilton, or Russell.
Actually, you're seeing Hamilton make those mistakes. He did lock up and almost send it into the wall. But I tell you, I know we usually go first, second, third in terms of constructor and in terms of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's got a logical sense to it.
I want to touch on Logan Sargent because he did bin it into the wall, didn't he?
So you want to go from top to bottom?
I want to go from top to bottom. I want to go from the highest highs to the lowest lows, and I feel very bad for Logan. He had a hydraulic leak, I believe it was, in the end. I initially just thought that it was him, maybe trying to take the corner too quickly. But if you watch the replay back, you can see the wheel just isn't turning. And so he lost control of the car. But for some reason, he stayed out there like the rest of the race. He didn't try and come back. Which is very odd. Like he just stayed there until the end of the race, like with the stewards, not with the stewards, with the marshals.
Maybe he just wanted. Odd. Maybe like it's a high adrenaline situation. He's crashed out. Maybe he felt he could have done better. It's just like you know what, I just want my alone time right now. Especially when you see what Albon's doing.
Yeah,
qualified it in P4. He's doing loads of laps on tires in different weather conditions. And got it to P8. Got some points on the board.
Exactly. Oh, excuse me. I do apologise. I'm not finding this boring whatsoever. No,
it's your own podcast.
Yes, my own podcast, and I'm tuning out. No, I think that Albon as well, and that's also, I guess, a kind of similar comparison between Red Bull and Williams in terms of if you had one driver who just brings it in every single week. Nails it, and then you've got another driver who just isn't on the same level whatsoever. And I do kind of feel like if you were to compare Logan to Alex, I do feel like it's a slightly unfair comparison in my opinion. But at the same time, you are obviously your first comparison is against your teammate, and it's a real shame that Logan hasn't put points on the board just yet.
Yeah, but he's getting better.
He is getting better. That's the thing.
He's still a rookie.
Yeah.
So I would expect towards the end of the year that he could be on a similar level to Alex.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he'll score points in like very technical tracks like Singapore and stuff like that. I think that if he just survives Singapore, he'll be fine. But I think that in Monza, you could expect to get some points with how good the top speed is of that Williams. And also probably Qatar as well. You could potentially expect a point or two, maybe. And obviously Vegas as well with the very long stretch as well. You would hope for points in a home race, even though Miami is closer to his home, but also it's still the US, so technically a home race. But I would expect Logan to score points this season. And I think given the opportunity and how bad the AlphaTauri is, he could even outscore Yuki, potentially. Which is wild saying it now that it came out of my mouth. Because I bloody love Yuki, but that car is just not up to scratch, nowhere near as good as the Williams. But it would be really good to see Logan score some points later on this season. However, we are getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's bring it back to the race. And
we
yeah, I know.
I'm keeping it on the race.
I'm going off on tangents. I do apologize. But so bringing it back to the race. We've talked about Checo. We talked about Williams. Alex obviously had an absolutely unreal weekend. But let's go back up to the top and go through Aston Martin. I have a little game to play with you, which is, can you tell me where Lance Stroll finished in the Grand Prix?
Sorry, say that again?
Can you tell me where Lance Stroll finished in Zandvoort this weekend? What position did he have? Without looking it up. Don't look it up. I can see you. I can see you looking it up. Don't look.
Okay.
Can you tell me what position he finished in?
P12?
P12 is your guess. I don't know. Yeah. I think it was P12 as well.
P11. It's P11.
It was P11. Okay. Well, that's exactly my point, ladies and gentlemen. Yet again, completely underperforming for Aston Martin when you've got Fernando Alonso reigning in a Red Bull and you've got, bloody this Canadian who's just it's so frustrating because for some reason he just hasn't got it this season. Like Lance keeps banging on about needing to work out how he gets faster and stuff like that. Very clearly he's struggling because he's still not as fast as Alonso. I'm not expecting him to be as fast as Alonso, but just he's not even in the same room, right?
I think the stakeholders and the senior team at Aston Martin need to take a good long hard look at Lance Stroll. Yeah, I know his dad funds a team and that's why he's got the seat and that's but at one point are you like, look, the McLarens are getting points, the Mercedes are getting points, the Ferraris are getting points. We're not going to stay up there for long in the constructors if it's just Fernando dragging us around.
Yeah,
and points means money kind of thing. So fantastic result by Fernando. Absolutely aced it in the wet, in the dry, in the mixed conditions. Good on Aston Martin for their strategy calls. They had a bit of a slow pit stop, but Fernando was able to make up for that.
Yep.
And it seems like they're kind of back where they were at the start of the season.
It does. It does seem like that. Well, one of the drivers, it seems like that. But it's really good. Like I'm really happy that they seem to be having a little bit of a upturn after the tire compounds and stuff changed because it's something.
And the upgrades.
Yeah. Yes, the upgrades are working. They obviously had a couple of bad races, I guess, after the tire compounds changed, but they seem to be back on top of it now, which is great. So. I think it's partly, I guess, tire compounds, but also partly their upgrades just weren't properly tuned in, and they couldn't find the right setup for Silverstone as well. So it's good to see Alonso pushing for P2 and sometimes even pushing P1 for a couple of laps before Max runs away.
It's nice. But back on the podium.
Very good. Very happy to see him back on the podium.
And doing wonders in that car, and hopefully maybe sneak in a race win. We can hope. We can live.
Let's hope so. Let's hope Singapore. I mean, that's going to be the place where it happens if it's going to happen anywhere. It has to happen somewhere like that. Like with how close the walls are and how high speed that track is. It's possible.
How long that track is as well.
Yeah, it's a long track as well. Yeah,
it's a long race. It's a hard race. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. Who was next? Who was next in the standing? I guess Alpine.
Alpine, your favorite team.
Yes. How did Pierre end up on the podium? George Russell's podium was taken by Pierre Gasly. How did that happen?
He kept his nose clean. He just drove a solid race, avoided any drama, and his hard work paid off.
Yeah,
simple as that.
It's absolutely ridiculous, but
good strategy.
He's done it. They've done it. Fair play to the team, in all honesty. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah.
And this is where you need to be, mixed condition races. If you're in the mid or the lower half of the table, this is the kind of race that you need to take advantage of. It's like, hey, we can score some solid points here, as Williams have shown. And
that's exactly what Haas did. That's exactly what Haas did. Kevin made up 13 places within the first 5 laps. Haas did the exact same thing, but the car just doesn't have pace. In the dry, anyway, it doesn't have pace. Which is a real shame. But yeah, so I think Alpine did pretty well. Where did Ocon finish in the end?
Esteban came P10, so got a point on the board.
P10. Okay, cool. I just wasn't entirely sure.
They made that mistake. I wouldn't say mistake. It probably was the right call if it hasn't been red flagged, but they moved on to the full wets instead of the inters.
Yep.
Before the red flag came in. So, it was just slightly bad timing on the decision, but you want to make these kind of strategy calls just in case anything does happen. So yeah, he came P10, and then Ferrari
P5 again, was Sainz.
Yeah, but another race to forget. I mean, they had the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for Charles, that's definitely a race you would just like. Thank God we're done there.
Yeah, that first pit stop for Ferrari, where they tried to do a pit stop without spare tires, was bad.
I don't understand that, because you see the weather, so you probably want to be prepared just in case one of your drivers comes in.
Yeah.
There's reports that they weren't ready for him because Charles called it very last minute.
Yeah.
Then again, so what's happening with communication?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Can you even blame the team if your driver just literally tells you as they're coming into the pit lane, "Oh, I'm in the pit lane, let's put inters on"?
Yeah.
I think it's half a dozen of one, six of the other, where Charles should have communicated better, but the team just like, look, just be ready. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Ferrari it's
painful to watch. It's painful to watch.
Just numb to it now. Because Carlos did the best he could.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, I suppose, that Leclerc's damage was because he ran over his own front wing end plate. So he damaged his own car with the contact that he had in the opening couple of laps. So, like, I think it was wrong of Ferrari to keep running the car as long as they did. They should have just retired the car very, 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 very soon. They lost 60 points of downforce with that.
Apparently, there's also an engine issue as well.
Oh, I don't know about an engine issue. I only know about the downforce issue. But to me, you could save that engine. Charles only had, I think he's on his last gearbox, I want to say, already. And then you start taking penalties. Bring the car home. Just retire early on. Like, you don't need to risk having some sort of penalty in your home race next weekend as well. Like, if for some reason he now needs to take a new gearbox because he carried on running at this race when he shouldn't have been running, that's stupid. But it's also very Ferrari, so they probably have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think Ferrari are looking at the next race. They're just like, let's maximize what we've got now. If you have to take 10 penalties in Monza, we have to. But
very good race from Carlos. I actually thought he did very well.
I think he did very well. I think P5 was the best they could have got. He tried to make up positions where he could, but a painful one for Charles.
Yes, for sure. But very good job for my main man, Carlos. Next up, Hamilton, who did awful in qualifying. Well, look, Mercedes, but Hamilton was next, and he did awful in qualifying. He was qualified in P13?
Yep.
13? Yeah. That's bad. That's quite bad. But he made up for it in the race, as far as I can see.
Yeah, he did really well in the race. Again, mixed conditions, wet.
Yeah.
These are his conditions. He did well. Again, I think he called it. He goes, I think he should have pitted when they forced him to stay out.
Yeah.
I think, he could have been up there, even taken out third or second. But, it looked really racy. But, it's just, if you're down in 13th, it's going to be difficult for you to get points.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It was a good recovery drive. That's essentially what it was. Drive. It was a good recovery drive. Can't really.
And then the other Merc was the opposite, really. So George qualified well, and then it just went backwards in the race, unfortunately. Yeah,
it's a real shame.
His podium.
Yeah, the cry, like the crying and whining on radio. I don't have time for that. Like, just drive, please.
They're high performance athletes under stressful situations.
Yeah, I know, and I do get that. And maybe you should take my comments with a pinch of salt, but at the same time, like it was a bit much for me personally. But there we go. And then next up was my boys who have helped with my depression this week, which is McLaren. They should have pitted. They had, as we mentioned earlier on, they had some issues with, we think the rain's only going to last a couple of minutes, so let's not stop. It just didn't go particularly well, did it?
No, they qualified well.
Yeah, qualified really well.
Lando put it on the front row, Oscar up there as always. But in the race, just did not have the race pace, went backwards. But you know what? I think having 2 point scoring positions, considering where they were at the start of the season,
not bad at all.
not bad at all. The upgrades are working, especially in the dry. So you know what? I'm gonna stay positive about McLaren.
Yeah, it's just disappointing because I feel like we were robbed of a McLaren podium at points that was George's, really. But I mean, it feels like we were robbed of the podium.
I wouldn't say you were robbed of the podium.
I was.
Just say you were robbed of a podium.
I was.
It's not like
George Russell.
Like Lando was in like P2 for ages.
Yes, he was.
Oh, can we talk about Alonso's first lap overtake?
Please.
Man, the guy's just got it. The guy has just got it, right?
Age is simply a number.
Just everyone's going high. I think I'm just going to go low, get past George Russell. That's it.
I'll be honest with you.
Past Lando on mixed conditions on dry tyres.
I was surprised that more drivers didn't try that move.
I was surprised about that.
That was the only thing for me.
Because
it forces the driver on the high line. It forces them to act, and they have to brake. They have to.
I think I saw Pierre try it, maybe George. But...
Yeah, I think that the one that annoyed me was that I think it was Lando who was stuck behind Yuki for a long time. He just wasn't. He could have used a move like that, and there were a couple of times where I was like, "Come on, just take the low line, like just go around him. Come on," because he got stuck behind Yuki for a long time. So I think that you do have to remember that Zandvoort is a difficult track to overtake at, but at the same time, like, come on, just stick it up the inside.
I mean, if the 41-year-old veteran's doing moves like that,
then you've got no excuse, Lando. You pathetic. No, I'm kidding. I love you. But yeah, no, I think that if Lando or any other driver were to try it and it were to go wrong, fair play for giving it a go. Especially, did you see the F2? Hold on. Did you watch the F2 race?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I was away
my God.
Weekend.
You missed. Right. Okay, we're going to do a quick 5-minute F2 segment because the F2 was brilliant, right? Okay. The F2, right, you had the top 3 in the championship. None of them scored points in this like F2 race. The third to last F2 race, none of the top 3 score points. We had a guy who ended up winning, this French bloke. I can't remember his name because it's some weird French name, like it's Viansky or something like that. I'm gonna look it up now. But he did amazingly well, but the win came out of nowhere. But like Vesti pitted halfway through when the weather was changing, and he got halfway round a lap, and then both of his back wheels fell off.
Oh shit! Is that because poor pit stop?
Yeah, poor pit stop. I'm trying to find it now because like the whole weekend was just mad.
I'll YouTube
Novalak. That was the guy who won. I do apologize. But I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with Novalak because he drives under a French license. He is a French driver. However, he then got up onto the podium and he was speaking quite literally perfect English. And I was like, how the hell is he doing that? He just sounded like a normal English bloke. I Googled it and he's been living in the UK since he was like 13. So his English is like literally perfect, but it just completely threw me off guard. But Novalak won. But so like slippery conditions and stuff like that. Behrman had an incident on Tarzan on that corner where Alonso overtook Sergio at the beginning, the bank corner, which was ridiculous. So he had an incident, and then I believe he finished like P7, I want to say. Where was it? See all results.
Right. I will watch.
Oh no, Fittipaldi was 7th.
I will watch this, and if you're listening, YouTube F2 Zandvoort and watch the feature race.
Please do watch it because it was actually really interesting. But yeah, so I would highly recommend going and watching it because the whole race was drama. But so the Porsche also like span out as well. So Porsche was leading the championship as well, still is. But yeah, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Like I did not expect what happened to happen. The F2 racing this year has been amazing. So I've actually written down like I have a weekly calendar which I've been doing. I've been doing something called time blocking, where you block out hours of time, and I've literally put it into my calendar to watch the F2 race in Monza this weekend. I'm really, really looking forward to it because it's really good racing. The one point that I would like to make, though, is that when you watch it, you will fully understand exactly why we still need tyre blankets in Formula One, because it was so dangerous having these cars come out onto a track with cold tyres. So dangerous. That's something which I think you'll appreciate when you watch the highlights, because it was just absolutely insane how many little slips and like offs there were, and like going wide and stuff like that. It was absolutely insane. So I know that we discussed, obviously, the ruling for tyre blankets has been extended week before, 2 episodes ago, but very clearly I Belgium, personally just think we really do need tyre blankets. We just do.
I'll have to watch race to see it.
Well, that was F2 corner. But yes, if you get the chance, go and watch it. To anyone listening, go and watch the F2 highlights from Zandvoort.
Will do. We've done most of the top teams. We've just got Haas.
Yeah, back to the race. Haas.
Yeah, back to the race.
Oh, I bought a Haas poster.
Did you?
Yeah, I bought a Haas poster.
All right. Was it 50% off or something?
How dare you? I'll have you know I paid full price.
Oh my God. Can you show the poster?
Of course I can show the poster.
Show it. And you have to describe it as well.
I'll go and get the poster right now because I can see it. It's just off to my left. But
is it as nice as the poster that I got you?
So the poster that you got me is hanging. You can see it. If you're watching on video, you might be able to see the corner of it, depending on how I've edited it. But it's a lovely poster. And Shari, my girlfriend, who doesn't listen to the podcast because she hates me, but she she bought me the Automobilist. The one that you bought me was Automobilist as well. She bought me the British Grand Prix McLaren limited edition poster for my birthday, which I'm very, very happy about. The chrome one, yeah. So she bought me that for my birthday. So she gets very good girlfriend points for buying me that. But so here is the Haas poster. Hold on a minute. Taking a while. It's not that big, but it's very cool and upside down. But look at that. For audio listeners, it is Kevin Magnussen's car. On a very fancy background, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's an Automobilist one.
Yeah, Automobilist. 20 Kevin Magnussen. And I bought it because it's the only F1 car I've ever touched. God, I sound like a virgin. But it's the only F1 car I've ever touched, which is ridiculous. But I love it. It's such a nice poster. I live in Denmark. Kevin Magnussen is the national hero here. Did you not
technically touch the cars at Mercedes-Benz World?
I did boop it, didn't I? I booped it. So
I think you booped a lot of them.
I booped pretty much every single one of them. Because you can't get in trouble for booping a Formula One car as far as I'm concerned. If you boop it, it's fine. It doesn't count. If you're like properly like rubbing it up or like grabbing it and opening doors and stuff like that, of course you're getting in trouble. But if you literally just look, then that's fine. That's perfectly allowed. But no, that is the only Formula One car I've ever booped. Active Formula One car. Let's go with that. And also, I think some of the ones that I booped in Mercedes-Benz World, I believe some of them were just replicas. They weren't the actual original cars. Some of them were.
They're just show cars.
But I think one or two of them were some of the actual, but I can't remember which ones.
Yeah, most of them just show cars. They're on permanent display, so I imagine they're just show cars.
Yeah. But yeah, so I love the poster, so I bought it. But anyway, back to Haas in the race.
Oh, I have a slightly off tangent thing.
Oh God, yeah. I've gone off on tangents and stuff like that. So it's your turn now.
I met Felipe Massa a few years ago. Did I ever tell you this?
No.
Yeah. Well, I would say I've met him. So basically, I went to Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Yes. Yeah.
And a friend of mine who worked in the events industry got us tickets. So we were in some fancy area. And they try and get Formula One drivers to come and do a little Q&A and talk to some of these esteemed guests. Got in for free, fools.
Is that what you told Massa?
Yeah, so he walked by, I just like shook his hands, and this sounds so weird, but he has the softest hands ever. I was like, what's your skincare routine? Because your hands are incredibly soft. He is also incredibly tiny.
Yeah, I found that with Kevin. Kevin was stood next to Nico, and Nico is massive in comparison. But then I have to remember that I'm also massive. So they all just everyone looks small to me.
How tall is Nico?
184 centimeters tall, I believe.
6'1".
Nico Hulkenberg.
And then how tall is?
I believe Nico Hulkenberg is 184 centimeters. I was so close. Whereas Kevin is 174. So Kevin's a lot shorter. Well, I say a lot shorter.
So me and Nico are the same height.
Yeah. So small.
I think I'm 180. I'm 183. Or yeah. And so Kevin was what was he? 1.74, did you say?
Kevin is 1.74 meters tall.
So Kevin is 5'7". Oh, that's a bit.
Yeah, so that's not as big as you'd expect, but it helps him be quicker, I guess. So there is that. But even Esteban Ocon at 6'2" is tiny, as far as I'm concerned. So.
Do you know who's a lot taller but doesn't look it? Charles. Charles is like 5'11".
5'11" is not tall. Come on.
5'11" is tall.
5'11" is not tall. If you are 6 foot tall, you are tall. If you are if you say, "Oh, I'm 5 foot,"
you're
like small. You're tiny.
As every girl on dating sites.
Yeah, because I am tall, so I'm allowed.
So Charles Leclerc is.
I've got Oscar Piastri's height. He's 1.78.
Charles Leclerc is 5'9". He's not 5'9".
Told you he's tiny.
He is small, is he? I thought he was 5'11".
I told you he's tiny.
Oh shit! I'm pretty sure I've seen on the website that he's taller than that.
So I can give you. So I'll give you higher, lower. Who's taller than the other one? Right. Okay. You're gonna. Okay. So who's taller, Valtteri Bottas or Kevin Magnussen?
Oh.
This is a real tangent. This is great podcasting.
I'm going to say Magnussen's taller.
Magnussen is taller. Valtteri Bottas is 173 and Magnussen's 174. Who is taller?
F1 grill the grid.
Yeah, they should have done that, honestly. Who
they did do that.
Did they?
Yeah, they've done it where they have to like show each driver's height.
I thought it was age.
No, they've done it by height.
I didn't know they did a height one as well.
They've done a height one. I'll send you the link.
Who is taller, Logan Sargent or Zhou Guanyu?
Oh, I'm going to say Zhou Guanyu.
No, Logan Sargent. Logan is 181.
I thought it was a trick question.
Logan is 181 and Zhou is 176.
Okay.
Who is taller, Lance Stroll or Charles Leclerc?
Lance Stroll,
but only by 2 centimeters. But yeah, so the tallest driver is Ocon and Albon, 186 centimeters.
Yeah, Ocon, Albon. George is quite tall. He's up there.
Yeah, George is 185, so he's only a centimeter shorter than Alex and Esteban.
And then you got Yuki, Fernando.
Yeah, Yuki, who is tiny.
Towards the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. But, so should we finish off Zandvoort with the?
Yeah, let's start going on tangents for a few minutes.
Well, we talked about Haas and then we just went off on like.
So yeah, we haven't even finished. Yeah, we haven't even finished talking about Haas.
Let's do. All right, we've got Haas, Alfa Romeo. We've done Williams and AlphaTauri at the start kind of thing. So yeah. Haas and Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, so Haas did very well under the change of conditions, and then the dry came out and not so well. But I want to shout out the performance of Nico, because I think Nico did pretty well, to be completely honest with you. So Nico ended up P12, which is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. And then Magnussen was down in 16th. However, I don't know which one it is, But I know that Magnussen had an upgraded wing. And I don't know whether or not Hülkenberg also had the same upgraded wing. However, because Magnussen crashed during one of the FPs, Magnussen didn't have the upgraded wing for the race. So I believe that's why there was such a big difference between the two. However, Kevin still did amazingly in the wet. He's pretty good in the wet, if I'm completely honest, even a little bit biased. But Kevin's pretty good in the wet. And he made the most of the change of conditions, as we've said. But I still think that he's lost out to his teammate yet again. But I don't know how much upgrades really played into that. That's all I was going to say.
Well, they've both been retained by Haas for next season.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that. I was very happy to hear. Very happy to hear that they were carrying on with the same.
I think it's just drivers. What Terry mentioned in the last podcast is that a lot of contracts are coming to an end next year. So Haas want to say, hey, we've got 2 free seats rather than having Nico or Kevin locked in for like a 2-3 year contract and they can't change drivers if they want to. Well, they can't easily change drivers if they want to. So
yeah, it's a bit messier. But I think that with Kevin and Nico, neither of them really bin cars. The cars bin themselves sometimes. But with those two, you've got 2 very reliable, very experienced drivers who, in complete honesty, probably won't cost that much money. So it's a very good move for both parties as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's winning all round, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think it's the right decision to make. And then, but I think next season, one of them will not be there.
Yeah,
both of them may not be there.
It's the sensible decision to make, but I do think they could have been interesting and they could have potentially, gone for a rookie or something like that. But I'm not overly bothered.
I think, we could see Nico Hülkenberg at Red Bull for 2025.
I think that's a bit much, but you never know.
Good.
Who knows? Maybe Nico, German driver, goes and has some sort of pre-agreement with Audi and goes to Alfa Romeo.
Possibly. Goes to Alfa Romeo. He has a pre-agreement with Audi. Hold on a minute. Goes to Alfa Romeo.
Hold on a minute. Alfa Romeo is going to become Audi. So
I know, but don't why would he have the pre-agreement with... No.
Don't act like it's not... It wouldn't be completely out of it.
I don't think so. I think they'll want him to join when that Audi.
I'm going to save this moment right now, and I'm going to laugh in your face when Nico is confirmed. Anyway, last team, but not least, Alfa Romeo, the ones we were just talking about.
Again, similar to Haas, did all right at the start, Valtteri especially.
Yeah.
And then, again, just quickly got forgotten about as they went backwards.
You say that, but Joe wasn't.
Well, Joe just aquaplaned right into the wall.
Yeah, not his fault whatsoever. It was changing to wet weather tyres that don't work, and there's not a lot you can do, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but again, it'll be interesting to see what the future looks like for Alpha. It seems to be like since the Audi deals come through, they're just like, we just don't care. We're just going to maintain kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of that in there. But it will be very interesting to see, whether or not their car is going to get upgraded that much or whether or not they and Williams will essentially swap places over the next couple of seasons.
I don't think so. I think, they'll probably do obviously some development work for next year. But they are waiting for 2026. Once they know it's like what is standard on the car and what isn't, then that's where they'll just be developing all the time.
Yeah.
So, but that was the race. It was a very good race, very interesting race. Biased, glad to see Fernando back on the podium. Well done to Max for equaling those 9 record wins. And bring more races by the beach with mixing conditions.
Yeah, I think obviously Max Resurgence or Max rise to fame is part of the reason why Zandvoort is on the calendar, is where I was going with that. And in all honesty, even when Max is long gone, I think keep the track because it's awesome. It's a fun track.
if they follow through the plan to make cars smaller and lighter, that'll become an even more fun track to watch.
Yes, yeah, hopefully. I think that obviously Zandvoort have a contract up until 2025 as of right now, and hopefully that will get extended. But as you know, because I sent you a photo of it, I've applied for tickets for next year as well.
You have, yes.
Because I thought I've not had enough rain at my Formula One races. I need to go to Zandvoort. No, Amsterdam's a fun weekend, as you know. You've just come back from there.
No, I did not come back from Amsterdam. I came back from Rotterdam.
Same difference, okay?
They're not the same. They're two completely different cities.
Both of them end in dam, okay?
Yeah, and they got both two different cities. Okay, I was in Rotterdam. Big difference. Well, Rotterdam. I was about an hour and a half away from Zandvoort.
Nothing. So. It's absolutely nothing.
So it is easily drivable to drive to Zandvoort.
So why didn't you go?
I did go to The Hague, so that was pretty cool.
Nice, yeah.
So for your crimes against fashion, that's where your court case will be.
Hold on a minute. Sorry, excuse you. No, if you want to talk about crimes against fashion, you need to talk about Ferrari's new livery. So the
you mean the Ronald McDonald?
The Ronald McDonald, the new McDonald's outfit.
Are we just previewing Monza now? Have we moved on to Monza?
No. I just wanted to throw some shade at Ferrari again because it's fun. We will talk about Monza in a bit. But is there anything else from the race you really wanted to cover? If you had to rate that race out of 10, what would you give it?
Definitely a 9 out of 10.
Definitely a 9 out of 10. Okay.
10 out of 10 races are the ones where Max doesn't win.
Okay. I was going to give it an 8. I was going to give it an 8.
I think probably slightly biased because Fernando was on the podium.
Fernando on the podium again is vibes, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm giving it an 8.
Cool.
Solid race. Very good. But most of the races this season have been a 5 or a 6 at best.